As we shared earlier, you saw people across the country and the world honoring former President George H.W. Bush Wednesday. They bid a final farewell during a national cathedral service. Their beloved former president touched numerous lives and left an unforgettable legacy. CBN's Heather Sells spoke with Rob Schwartzalder of Regent University. He's a former speechwriter for George W. Bush. He shared some insights about how George H.W. Bush's impact will live on.
This funeral, the tribute that his son paid to him, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think how anybody cannot be moved by watching a devoted son say farewell to his father and to hear the obvious love and loyalty that came through. There's nothing feigned, nothing fake about that.
Right, and it's so interesting because here you have two of the most incredibly powerful men, and yet when it came down to it, it's really their family relationship that they're reflecting on.
People ask what George H.W. Bush will be remembered for, and I think we could say the same thing of President George W. Bush. Both of them are deeply committed to their families. Family is central. In the nation's capital, in the Capitol Dome, the quarry of Bush children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren was huge. These are people who deeply loved their father, great-grandfather, grandfather. That kind of commitment is something that's genuine, that comes from the heart, and that's a real tribute to him.
Yeah, and such a blessing for our country, really. Let me ask you, so you were doing speech writing for George W. Bush, but it sounds like you also saw the imprint of his father on his presidency. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things. One is that neither man took himself too seriously. Both of them had the ability to laugh at themselves. We heard during the funeral service several speakers talk about his sense of humor. At the same time, they brought great dignity to the office because although they didn't take themselves personally, they took the presidency with great seriousness. They understood that the stakes were high. There was no room for the kind of moral lapse that we have seen in other administrations. They wanted to stay the course faithfully for the American people and as a testimony to their own families and uphold that sense of dignity that really seems to characterize the Bush family.
That's really beautiful. The farewell from former Senator Bob Dole yesterday is getting a lot of attention. The 95-year-old was helped from his wheelchair to stand and salute his longtime colleague and fellow World War II veteran. What do you see as the legacy or the impact of that military service that George H.W. Bush had on his administration in the country?
I think he went into conflict with a real sense that people are actually affected by this. This isn't something out of a novel or out of a movie. His two crewmen on his Avenger flight were killed. He was the only one who survived. He almost got captured by the Japanese. Two of their boats were actually coming in his direction before he was rescued. So he understood the stakes. He knew that sending Americans into combat was as serious as it gets. So when he did initiate our efforts to get Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait, he did that with a mindfulness. They need to be the best equipped, best trained, best led service personnel in the world. And that was a real tribute to his commitment to excellence in military leadership.
Wow. Well, a lot we can learn. How do you think history will remember him? What do you think will be the imprint that he will leave?
I think calm statesmanship in the midst of a storm. The other day, Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, said he was one of the fathers of German reunification. He kept a steady hand. He let everyone know America will be strong. America will do its best for our country. Along with that, we will make sure that the rest of the world is as safe a place it can be for everyone. That's a tremendous legacy for any president to leave.
Right. Rob Schwartzwalder, thanks so much for your time.